I love pizza. It is my favorite food. It's really hard to screw up pizza, but not all pizza is created equal. Here in Vancouver, Washington, that's my hometown, we have this place called the Blind Onion. And I believe that the Blind Onion pizza is the best pizza that you can get around here. So let's start with their crust. It's great. So when you get close to being done eating a piece of pizza, you're left with the crust. And what the Blind Onion does is they give you honey to dip the already amazing melt in your mouth kind of crust into the honey, and it's like eating, dessert at the end of a meal. Their ingredients seems relatively fresh to me. Also, their sauce seems like they've got to have, fresh garlic in there, fresh sweet basil kind of mixed in. It's really, really good. And one of the best parts about the Blind Onion is that when you get done eating their pizza, you don't feel like crap. At least I haven't felt like crap. So at the other end of the spectrum, you have a place like Little Caesars. And I'm not here to trash Little Caesars. I actually love Little Caesars. So part of my job is working at an after school program. And at this after school program, I used to edit videos. And it was tradition for me when I got close to being done editing a video, I would go to Little Caesars. I would get myself a large pepperoni or sausage pizza, and I would take it back to my office and I would eat it all by myself. It was great. And if I was still editing videos, I would continue that tradition. So I love Little Caesars. So I'm not here to trash it, but I am here to tell you that the Blind Onion is better than Little Caesars. Now, why is Blind Onion better than Little Caesars? I believe it is because the ingredients makes the pizza good. Now, Little Caesars doesn't have very good ingredients. Their pepperoni, their cheese, or whatever they use, it's just so greasy. You leave a Little Caesars pizza laying out for even like maybe 20 minutes, and all the fat just rises up and creates that plaque on top of your pizza. It's just not as good. And when you get done eating a Little Caesars pizza, you never really feel that good. But it's certainly easier for me to eat Little Caesars pizza because I can go to a Little Caesars and in about 5 minutes, I can have a large pepperoni pizza in my hands, ready to eat. And also, it's going to cost me maybe, $7 for a large pepperoni pizza? Whereas if I want a large pepperoni pizza from the Blind Onion, it's going to take, 20 plus minutes for it to be ready. And I'm going to pay like 6 or 7 times more money for this pepperoni pizza at the Blind Onion. So why do I bring all this up? I'll explain it all in a moment. But first, I would like to give us a little bit of a review. In my last video on social media, I talked about how everything that we do on social media is motivated by our desire for deep relationships. I then begged the question, is social media a place where deep relationships can be formed, and is it a place where deep relationships can flourish? In order to answer this question, we need to revisit the ingredients that it takes to make deep relationships. And then we got to ask the question, is social media a place where these ingredients can be used? These ingredients are trust, transparency and vulnerability, love, and mutuality. Can we use these ingredients when we're on social media? Well, I'm going to give you my answer to the question, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the video explaining why I gave you this answer. My answer is yes, it is possible for us to use these ingredients on social media, but it is not very probable. Why? Because it is really hard to use the ingredients that we need to build deep relationships to begin with. I mean, consider the Blind Onion pizza. It is really hard to break down and settle for the good ingredients that Blind Onion gives us, right? It's a lot more expensive to get a Blind Onion pizza. It takes a lot more time to get a blind onion pizza. In the same way, it is really hard for us to use the ingredients that we need to make deep relationships to begin with. It is really hard to actually trust somebody. It is really hard to become transparent and vulnerable with somebody. It is really hard to love somebody like we should. It's really hard for us to build two-way relationships. On the flip side, it is way easier to settle for not so good ingredients. Just like it's really easy for us to settle for Little Caesars because it doesn't cost us much. It's way easier to not trust people, to not be transparent with people, to create barriers instead of become vulnerable. It's really easy to settle for shallow love rather than love that actually penetrates and goes deep. It's really easy for us to settle for consumeristic relationships, one-sided relationships, rather than two-way relationships. But so far, I haven't talked about how social media specifically makes it hard to use the ingredients that we need to make deep relationships. So far, I have just talked about how it's hard enough in general to use these ingredients that we need to make deep relationships. Well, I'm going to begin to answer this question. It's not like social media is forcing us to use bad ingredients like distrust or untransparency or shallow love. It's not like social media is forcing us to use these ingredients. It's that social media is making it even easier to use these bad ingredients. It's already really easy to use these bad ingredients. Social media is making it even easier. It's like, consider the Little Caesars pizza. It's already easy to settle for those bad ingredients. The greasy pizza because it's cheap and it's fast. Now imagine somebody is just throwing you coupons like 50% off on the Little Caesars pizza or completely free. It's like social media is constantly throwing us coupons to use these bad ingredients. And that makes it very, very hard for us to use the good ingredients that we need to form deep relationships. So in my effort to explain how social media makes it very hard for us to form and live out deep relationships, I am first going to take each individual ingredient that we need to form these deep relationships, and then I'm going to give us a bad ingredient that we usually use to replace the good ingredient. And then I'm going to discuss the coupons that social media gives us to settle for this bad ingredient. In other words, I'm going to discuss how social media makes it very easy to do things like be untransparent, to not be vulnerable, to not give or receive the love that we need, and so on and so forth. All right, let's start with trust. So we need trust in order to build deep relationships. But what is the ingredient that we often settle for instead of trust? Distrust. It's really hard to trust people. It's a lot easier to not trust them. So what is the big fat coupon that social media gives us that makes it so easy to settle for this bad ingredient of distrust? It is unlimited friends and followers. What happens when we have the ability to have as many friends and followers as we want? We start racking up all the friends and followers. Now, this could be for a variety of reasons. It could be because we're, just trying to be friendly. It could be because we're trying to become popular. But the bottom line is we have all these friends and followers on our social media pages. And because of this, we don't trust the community. I'm not saying that we don't trust some friends and some followers that we have, but as a whole, we don't trust the community. And because of that, we don't share our deepest, darkest secrets or struggles. Some of us don't share struggles at all. And this is perfectly understandable. But the bottom line is that our communities on social media are communities of distrust. And that is because of the big fat coupon they give us of unlimited friends, and followers. Let's now talk about transparency and vulnerability. We already kind of talked about it, but let's talk about it some more. By the way, I lump transparency and vulnerability together because they're so closely related. You cannot become vulnerable without becoming transparent. So anyway, let's talk about it. So the ingredient that we often use instead of becoming transparent is untransparent. You know, we don't become transparent with people. And this can take the form of withholding information or lying. And when we do this, we, instead of becoming vulnerable, we become guarded. We build barriers. So what is the coupon that social media gives us that makes being untransparent so easy? It's the invitation to share what we want. Now, is this specific to social media? No, it's not. I mean, you can withhold information from anybody that you want in the real world, but it's a lot harder. Sometimes we don't say things with our mouths, but we say things with our face and with our bodies. I don't know about you guys, but I've had, bad things happen in my life, and I've tried to withhold that information from people that I love. And the people that I love and who know me very well often see it in my face and in my body language that something wrong is happening to me. And they ask me about it. So I have a clearer path to becoming transparent and therefore vulnerable in the real world than I do on social media, because it's the complete opposite on social media. It's very, very easy to withhold information. You just don't share it. You have complete control over what you share, and you are what you share on social media. So because social media gives us the freedom to share what we want, and because our unglamorous side is so hard to share, most of us simply aren't going to share it. I mean, just look on Instagram, look on Facebook, look at people's Snapchat stories. It's mostly all people's glamorous sides of themselves, glamorous sides of their lives. I mean, look at people's profile pictures. Look at my profile picture on Instagram. That's a good picture of me. I'm not about to share, a picture of me crying or something. That's embarrassing. Most of us share pictures of, our accomplishments. Like maybe it's an anniversary with a boyfriend or girlfriend or a spouse, or maybe it's a job promotion, or maybe it's some kind of physical achievement, like maybe we ran an Ironman or a marathon, or maybe if we're a guy, maybe it's a shirtless picture of ourselves in the gym bathroom. Most of us share like fun things that we've done recently, like maybe it's a concert or a sports game or a family get together or a really fun place we went recently. A lot of us share the good things that we have. Like we all know those people that just post a bunch of pictures of their kids. It's because they love their kids. Maybe it's of a grandparent or a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend or a house or a car or a bike that we have. So is only sharing the glamorous parts of ourselves a form of untransparency? Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, because we are withholding information about ourselves. So therefore, we are not being transparent about the things we don't reveal. In this case, it's usually our unglamorous side. But no, this is not a form of being untransparent, because what we are revealing about ourselves, our glamorous side, is true. Our glamorous sides of ourselves are just as much a part of us as our unglamorous side. So, no, it is not a form of untransparency in that way. But here's the thing. If we want to develop deep relationships, we are in need to become vulnerable so that we can be loved, so that the vulnerable parts of ourselves can be loved. And when we are not being transparent about both our glamorous and unglamorous side of ourselves, we are not becoming vulnerable and therefore not receiving the love that we need. By the way, I'm not advocating that we should be sharing our deepest, darkest secrets on social media. In fact, I've already talked about how it is very hard to create communities of trust on social media, and I believe that we should only become transparent and vulnerable with people that we trust. But what I am saying is that it is very, very difficult to use the ingredients of vulnerability and transparency because of the coupons that they give us to use other ingredients. These coupons are the ability to have unlimited friends and followers and the ability to share only what we want to share. So withholding information is not the only form of untransparency. There's another one. It's blatantly lying about who we are. Social media makes it very easy to lie about who you are by giving us a coupon. And that coupon is filters. So I know that filters are very popular on Instagram because I see them all the time. And the filters that I'm talking about are the filters that you can put on pictures to relieve yourself of any blemishes or imperfections on your body. And that's usually your face, when you take a selfie or something like that. I believe that by using these filters that I'm talking about on social media, we are lying about who we are. Now, you may be thinking, okay, Drew, I mean, I wear makeup, so aren't I then covering up some imperfection on my face, and therefore lying about who I am? So shouldn't, makeup be banned by this logic? Well, no. I draw the line here. If we can look like our photos on social media in real life, then it's fine. But if we cannot look like our photos that we post on social media, I believe that's a form of deceiving others. When we use Instagram filters, we are making it so our bodies are so different that we're not even able to look like that ever. So I do believe that when we use Instagram filters or other filters like it on other platforms, we are deceiving people and therefore we are lying about who we are. But guys, I get it. I get why we use Instagram filters. I mean, at the touch of a button, our imperfections on our face and bodies or whatever are gone. So that's kind of my point. I mean, social media makes it so easy to be untransparent, which makes it really, really, really hard to actually be transparent. So yeah, social media gives us two fat coupons to help us be untransparent. That is the ability to share what we want and filters. So are these the only coupons that social media gives us to settle for bad ingredients like untransparency and like untrusting relationships? Unfortunately, no. So in the next video, I'm going to share a few more coupons that social media gives us.